We love that. Bill Gross, sir, welcome on to the ITT stage. What a pleasure it is to have you
Yeah,
here
thank
among.
you. You're being way too kind, but thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
Look, I can appreciate that, and I wanted to say my kindness only comes from the lens of incredible insights that I think I've gotten through your voice in a lot of ways, Bill. So thanks for joining us here on the stage. What we're talking about right now, just to put it in context, we're having Dr. Gordon Hart talk to us about disposable innovation, how we create things that sometimes might fail, or sometimes might create waste, or sometimes might not solve the problem in the best way it can, and how important it is to not only understand that that all innovations aren't exactly as they're supposed to be, that there can be some issues and iterative processes that need to be brought to, and maybe even starting over, that would need to solve the true issue. And Bill, do you have anything that you might want to weigh on this idea of disposable innovation? We have a lot of innovators in the room, people who are building great products, businesses, services, et cetera.
Well, I don't know if I would say disposable as much. I mean, I agree with you on that, but I would say more iterative, meaning you start off with an idea and you have a certain mission you want to achieve, but then when it meets the face of the customer, you learn so much and you need to adjust your product to match what really is having traction. And it just means I actually think a lot of iteration. I also think, by the way, iteration is the one thing that a small startup can do that the big company can't do as well. Like the big company has better brand name, better resources, big company being your competition, more cash, more people. But because of that, they're also have higher inertia. And you, as a small startup, have less cash and fewer people and less brand awareness, but you don't have much inertia. And therefore, you have to take advantage of that and be nimble and iterate a lot. And I think that's the way you can surpass a bigger competitor.
Bill, I love the note there. And this idea that we're leaner, we're smaller, we're more dynamic, agile in our spaces is well taken. Danger Devin, I see you had a hand that popped up right from that note from Bill Gross. Anything that you'd like to add or any questions or comments here?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to pull a little bit from a book that I read a little while ago. It's a great book. It's called Raving Fans, and it's written by Ken Blanchard and Sheldon Bowles. I actually had the opportunity to work for Sheldon Bowles for a number of years. But what's the one thing that a major company and a small company can do at the same level? And that is customer service. And the whole point of the book of Raving Fans is to inundate your customers with so much amazing service they can't help but rave about what you've done for them and how, the good care you've taken of them, the salesmanship, the dependability, the reliability. And like, I just wanted to throw that in there, that it's, that's one of the things you can do as a small company or as a small business person or as a single entrepreneur, is just customer service, customer service, customer service. That's all.
Danger
I have
Devin,
a
I
story I
appreciate
could
it.
add to that. That's a great one. Is
Yeah,
it okay
Bill,
if I add one story to that?
please do. Yeah.
Right after I graduated from college, I had a little stereo store in Pasadena, California. It was how I paid my way through college. I made these high-end audio speakers. And one year, to try and boost business, I was trying to find a way to thank my existing customers, to have them come back in or recommend someone. And I had my sister bake chocolate chip cookies and made little cans of chocolate chip cookies and put them in UPS boxes and sent them overnight to all our previous customers. And that caused the most insane customer love. And that brought in so much business relative to just showing them love, sort of saying what you were just saying, showering people, your existing customers, with love. That was a slightly different example of a customer service thing, but I haven't thought about that in maybe 40 years. And you just describing that reminded me of that story. It really, really worked.
Oh, what a wonderful thing! I wish I would have been a customer back in the day. If I would have gotten, good old sweets coming my way, I would continue to be a customer. Hey, Bill, something that's on my mind here in the ITT constantly and that we've referred to is looking at some of your studies of this idea of what is the most important factors possibly in these startups. And I know that you had given some TED Talks and talked about this in extensive nature over time. But I'm curious if you believe that some of your findings, this idea, the timing, team, idea, business model, funding in that order, might, be the most, important factors for startups. Do you find that still to be true? Do you think any one of those five maybe switched in their place? If you
That's
were
a
to,
really interesting question, because I did give that talk. It's now 8 years ago.
yeah,
I think it still mostly holds, maybe not in the exact order, but I would say timing still matters so much from the standpoint of, if by definition, if you're trying to do something bold and new, you're going to be ahead of your time. But you just can't be too far ahead of your time, because then people aren't ready for it and you have to spend too much or wait too long for them to catch up to you. You don't want to be too late. You don't want to be too early. It really is a Goldilocks problem of trying to time it just right. The problem is it's very, very hard to do. What you can do is take a look at your idea, and once you start bringing it out to customers, figuring out, are they really resisting it because they just don't get it yet? I'll give you one example from my own past. Way back in around 2000, I wanted to make a thing that I was calling My Life, which was a wearable device that would track things about your life, like your blood pressure and your temperature. And I pitched it to people, and they just couldn't get it. They were just, nobody's going to wear something. Nobody's going to let you do that. Nobody's going to track that kind of stuff. It was just too early. And sure enough, 12 years later, Fitbit comes out, and a whole revolution of people counting steps warms people up to the idea of wearables. And then now the idea of measuring your vitals all the time is very commonplace. But I was way too early back in 2000. And there's nothing I could have done to have convinced enough people to try that, because it just wasn't even in the zeitgeist of a possibility. And I just think that you have to really look at, is the world ready for what you have?
And Bill, in contrast to, thank you so much for touching on this, by the way. It's so cool to be live chatting with you on this. I think a lot of people generally think, let's say they don't listen to your talk, they're not listening to some of what you're saying now. A lot of people think the idea is the most important thing. And that's actually what gets them up out of bed every day, right? Is this great idea that they have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the idea does matter. The idea does matter for so many things. To say that doesn't matter would be incorrect. But a great idea with bad timing won't work. The idea matters for probably the most important reason of all. If your own passion isn't with the idea, it'll never make it. Like if you don't love the idea, you'll never get there. And if the idea isn't strong enough to raise money or recruit employees, you'll never get anywhere either, unless it's something that you can do solo, which is very rare. You can do something big enough just solo. So yes, the idea of course matters. But what I was looking at was two ideas of equally sound merit, one timed well and one not timed well. The bad timing will kill a good idea, is what I was trying to look at, because there's so many great ideas. Also, similarly, a good idea that raises a lot of money but is way too early still fails. I'll give an example of like Webvan, which was trying to do same-day delivery also back in 2000. And they raised hundreds of millions of dollars, burned through it building warehouses. And they were just too early because there weren't enough people willing to put their credit card online even back then. So the timing was wrong, even though the idea was great and the funding was great. And I didn't even think the team was great. I think there was some ex-people from Walmart and other places who were really great at logistics and all that, but it was just too early. So timing can kill a lot of things. All the other things are necessary ingredients, but timing is just something that was surprising to me, how much it could hurt a good idea.
I was incredibly surprised by that too. And from your kind of articulation as to why, it made complete sense. And I totally was on board with that. And again, appreciate you taking a moment for that. And it was a question also for myself and people in the room. Oftentimes in this room, Bill, we're talking a lot about the ideas. And of course, the timing of this is crucial and something we do discuss, but just something I wanted to echo even further into some innovators' heads who are here with us. And Dr. Gordon Hart, I know we got you on stage in our going through a segment. I want to invite you for any questions, thoughts, or things that you might want to ask Bill as well while we have him for a short time. Bill, what it seems like to me is we are in a world where it is easier than ever before to innovate, to take ideas to impact with the resources that are available, the globalized connections, AI, you name it. It seems to me we are primed for a world where we're going to, more and more people are capable of creating businesses.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's for sure. I just came from a conference. So I'm in Munich right now because I was at this conference called Digital Life Design. and I'm heading to the World Economic Forum tomorrow. So I actually have to go to bed soon because it's 11:30 at night. but I just was checking out Twitter and I saw this was going live and I wanted to join. I've actually never joined a live space ever. This is my first one ever. I just wanted to see what it was like.
Wow.
And I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled I came. So,
Me too.
But at the conference, they were talking about the exact thing you just said, which is that there probably will be the first one-person unicorn this decade, meaning a company who builds $1 billion of value as a single solo person because of all the agent capabilities, programming capabilities. Maybe someone will build an agent-like organization where there's an agent who's the head of marketing, an agent who's the head of sales, and I don't know if that will happen, but maybe it won't be a one-person company. Maybe it'll be a 5 or 10-person company. But it really is incredible what can be done with the tools of AI right now. And with the reach, the global connectivity, that you have so many customers available to you that if you find something that meets a niche can still be 1 million people. And now you can find that right 1 million people out of the 4 billion people who are connected, and you can make a very valuable company with 1 million people. But of course, still coming up with something that is innovative, distinctive, executed well. There's still many, many challenges to make something succeed. It's just that it's definitely easier than it was before, and it's also easier to raise capital than it ever was before too, because there's so many different levels of angel money, friends and family money, Series A, Series B, all seed rounds, and even 10 or 20 years ago, it was way, way harder to break in with a small new idea of your own. And I'm really glad that it's become more democratized like that.
And Bill, just as a follow-up, where do you think we're headed, given that's true, that's the discussion at the conferences that you're at, something we're talking about here on the I.T.T, because what I see is twofold. One is that you could have enormous companies that are capable of providing a lot of value with minimal people being employed, is kind of, one piece of that. The other one is that there's going to be a dramatic amount of new companies that are formed,
Yes.
as another one. But I'd love to hear some of your thoughts as to this, primed innovative world, so to say, where people have more than ever before the resources and tools and the knowledge and information to create great products and services. What does that look like for us in the next couple of years?
I really think it's basically democratized in the sense that I am not an artist and I now can use some words to describe an image and have an image created for me that is analogous to someone who has an entrepreneurial instinct but doesn't have everything yet to do it. There's now tools to enable a more of a beginner to become a more advanced entrepreneur. It really just allows people with ambition anywhere on the planet to have a much better chance of making an impact. And that's exciting. I think that just brings the best ideas forward. So of course, there still are big companies like these. We never had $5 trillion companies before. So you're going up against very tough competitors, but you don't have to compete with them head on. You can find some area where they don't compete. So it's not like you're going up against that $1 trillion company. You have to find a place where you said it, you have to add value. You have to find a place where you add value to people's lives. If you add value, then you can capture some of that for your company and make something pretty exciting.
Bill, I love that take, and well appreciated that it's 11:30 over where you are in Munich, and well understood that this is your first space. I wanted to thank you for kind of trusting the title and the name and coming up and grabbing the mic. Boy, would we love to have you in the future if we ever have.
I'll try and come back. You said this is every week at this time?
Every week, Saturday, 2 p.m. Mountain Time. We are global collaboration, real-time innovation a go.
Great. Well, when I'm back in California in a few weeks, it'll be a much better time frame for me, and I'll see if I can join. But thank you so much for your kind words. I'm glad I was able to contribute. I'm going to sign off now. Have a great weekend.